Now let's talk about probability sampling. And probability sampling is where we try to do something to reduce any of the researcher's bias in terms of picking who participates in a study or not. And we oftentimes think of this, probably the everyday term we use thinking about probability sampling is randomization. But we have several different approaches here, about three different approaches in particular. And as I said, this approach is designed to reduce researcher bias in selecting a sample. Obviously, when you do a convenience sample, you're being very biased because you're really just focusing only on those people within your network that you can agree to participate. But if I don't want to have any researcher bias to where I'm deliberately picking certain people to participate, then I would engage in some form of probability sampling. So you have random sampling, and many of you here, you have heard that term about it, that something was a random sample. And when we say a sample is random in terms of being randomly selected, that means we simply do something by chance. We have a lottery and we pull out certain names, like pulling out names at a hat, assigning certain numbers, throwing dice. A very common thing that's used in large surveys, like national surveys or state level surveys, is have a random number generator that then randomly generates names and phone numbers to then call to see if those people would like to participate. There's also systematic sampling, and this would be something, it's not really random. In fact, there's an order to it, but this would be if I were to take every, say, nth entity, either the nth individual or phone number or business. So for example, if there are over 100 people in COM 308 like we have right now, and I wanted a sample of 20, then I might take every fifth person on the roll alphabetically. So I might start at the top of the row and I go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'll pick that person. And 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I'll pick that person. So it is systematic, but it is also designed to reduce bias because what's systematic about it is which number you pick, not the kind of person that you're asking to participate in the study. So that's systematic sampling, and you can see how that is different from random sampling. And then we have stratified random sampling, and that's, I'm going to need to explain that just a little bit more because it is an important concept, particularly if you're ever involved in a research project, either at business or something like that, where you're trying to get a large sample and get a sample that is free of researcher bias, but also fairly representative of the population that you're interested in. So if we do a random sample, we may miss certain groups of people, particularly groups that may not have many people in them. For example, in this class, it might be undergraduates over 25 years of age. If I took every fifth person in the group through systematic sampling, or if I did a random number generator and took 20 people, I might miss a group, anybody in this class who's over 25 years of age. And I'll have too large a representation of that group that really represents the largest proportion of the sample, like say the students in this class who are under 25 years of age. So, for example, let's suppose in our class we had 100 COM 308 students, and 90 of you were under 25 and 10 were over 25. I could do a sample of say 20 of you, and I could possibly get every single one of you under the age of 25, and in my 20 I would have no one who was over 25. So if I wanted to make sure that I had a representative sample, but a sample that was done through probability sample that doesn't reflect any bias on my part in terms of who participates, then I would then do stratified random sample by sampling only a certain number from a group depending on the percent of the population that group represents. So for example, if I wanted to get my class of get 20 people, and of those 20, 90% of them would be 18 of those that are under 25. And so what I would do there is do some sort of systematic sampling just for those students who are under 25. Let's say every fifth person who is under 25, I would do that, I would get my 18. Then for every person who is over 25, I have a total of 10 in the class, I might do every fifth person so that then I have a, have a sample that has 2 students in the sample who are over 25. And then that way I have my 18 in my 2 in my sample, which correspond to the 90% of the students who are under 25 with the 10% who are over 25. So this ensures that the sample reflects the characteristics of the population, at least based upon the stratification category that is of interest. I think figure 8.3 in both books are the same, but they provide another really good example of stratification in terms of where you want to target and make sure you get representative sample, but you want to reduce researcher bias. So then you do either the systematic or the random sampling within that particular group to get the desired number of people that you want to participate in your study.